The 50-30-20 rule is a popular budgeting method, but it will not make you rich, and I will tell you why. I have started out with this method myself when I got my first few salaries, but then I discovered something that made me abandon this method. Let me quickly explain what the 50-30-20 rule is so that I can better explain what the problem is afterwards. The 50-30-20 rule is a method for budgeting where you divide your salary into three broad categories. 50% you spend on needs. Needs are housing like rent or your mortgage, groceries, transportation, insurances, other bills like your phone and Wi-Fi, and also debt payments if you have. Then 30% are allocated to wants. So that are expenses for things you want to do, especially in your free time, but you don't necessarily have to. I would also call this enjoying life. So this will be going out to restaurants, going out to bars, going on vacations, going shopping, stuff like that. And 20% are allocated to your savings. This can be saving for an emergency fund, and it can also be for retirement and for other investments. Now there are some advantages to the 50-30-20 rule, otherwise it wouldn't be so popular. One of them is that it does prioritize saving because 20% of your income is just allocated to that. So it's definitely better than spending 100% of your income, obviously. And the fact that it's percentages also means that all of those categories will grow with your income. So for example, when you earn $60,000 per year and you save 20% of that, that will be $12,000 a year. And then a couple of years later, when you earn $80,000 per year, the 20% will be $16,000 per year. Now let me tell you what I think are the problems with this method. Number one is it still encourages lifestyle inflation. Let me explain. Now with the 50-30-20 method, we do calculate with percentages, which is good because with a growing income, you also grow your savings rate. So that's definitely better than, for example, setting a savings rate of $500 every month once and then never adapt that number. But the percentage is also fixed because it's called the 50-30-20 rule. Now when you increase your income, you don't just level up the savings rate, you also level up the spendings rate for needs and for wants. Let's say, for example, you earn $60,000 per month and you allocate 30% of that income to your wants. That means that you have $1,500 each month available for something you want and you will spend it. Now it's similar to Parkinson's law. When you work on a project for work or for university and you give yourself 3 months to finish that project, you will find a way to fill those 3 months. But when you give yourself only 3 weeks to do the same thing, then you will also make it work within 3 weeks. And the same goes for spending. When you increase your income and the amount of money that you have available for spending, you will find a way to spend it. And it encourages you to spend more. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against increasing your lifestyle. I'm actually not a frugal person at all. Just these spending categories seems a bit rigid. Problem number 2 is it doesn't incentivize you to check your rates. Because when you calculate with 50% of your income for your needs, you will be okay with spending 50% of your income for needs. But if the goal would be slightly different, like what is absolutely essential that I spend on for needs, like housing or groceries, you automatically look for savings potential. For example, if there are better conditions for your insurances, or if there are cheaper Wi-Fi or telephone providers out there. But when you just look at the actual number you're spending for needs and it is within the range of the 50% of your income, then you will be okay with it. And you have no incentive to change anything about it. And by that you miss out on the opportunity of having more money available for other things, either to save or to spend on what you love. And I think another aspect of this is that your needs don't actually change that much over time. Because once you have all your insurances covered, they will roughly stay the same. The same goes for groceries. You will not suddenly spend much more on groceries once you have a higher salary. Maybe you eat out more often, but that then is not needs, it's wants. And even when you start buying higher quality groceries, the difference in price will not be that high. At least not that high that it makes sense to use the full 50% of your income. Now in the beginning of your career this might be accurate, but especially when your income increases over time, it will not make sense. And problem number 3 is that this doesn't optimize saving. Now when I started working, I was already familiar with these basic personal finance concepts like saving money and paying yourself first, and that's what I did. And sometime in, I also started to calculate my net worth. So I saved the same amount of money every month, and here's what I noticed about my net worth. My net worth curve looked like this. And then about 1.5 years into my job, I watched a video from Bodo Schäfer. He is a European money coach and I've learned a lot from him. And in this video, he introduced the 2-account system, so that you make a separate account where you save the 20% of your income. So you don't spend and save from the same account. And I already knew that, so I had that in place, and I also didn't save 20% but 30% because I want to reach financial freedom. And he said with this method of saving 20% of your income, you will become wealthy, but you will not become rich. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then what he said, your income will increase, and when you save 50% every time your income increases, then you will become rich. And I was like, okay, that sounds intriguing. And mathematically it made sense, but still I had to see it with my own eyes. So I did this. I calculated the 2 different scenarios with my salary, and look what I found. So here's what I did. I took my salary. My first salary ever was 2,600 euros per month. And then I just calculated with a hypothetical increase of 200 euros. And then I calculated how much 30% of the income would be for those different salaries. So for this it would be 780, 840. Okay, I saved 30% of my income from the start, and those are the numbers for the different salaries which I would save when I would save 30% of my income. And then I calculated how much it would be if I were to save 50% of the increase. And for the first salary, this would be nothing because there's no increase yet, so I would only save the 780 here. And then for the next, I would save 880 because I kept this one, and then 50% of the increase would be plus 100 euros. And then this one would develop like this. So here you can already see that the amount I actually save is higher with the 50% of increase instead of just 30% of the income. And I also calculated the percentages. Here it's 1.4. And for me, those percentages are the real beauty, because here you can see very clearly the more you earn, the more you save, not just in real numbers, because of course that's true for the 30% as well, but you also increase the percentage of how much you save from your income. And later what I did, I didn't just save 50% of the increase, I saved 75% of the increase. And here you can see that this grows even faster, and I also put the percentages. Now look at that. You start with 30% of your income, maybe you do 20%. You can calculate the numbers for your salary with 20%. And with saving 75% of the increase with a growing salary, you end up saving 40 and more % of your income every month. And that is the big secret. The percentage is not fixed. The percentage is flexible, it's fluid, it's adapting. And the real beauty with your first income, for me it was the 2,600 euros. You already have everything you need. You have a roof over your head, you have food on the table, you occasionally go out with friends, at least that's what I did. Then you make 200 more, you put 100 aside to invest, and you still have 100 more to spend. And not for something you need, because that's already covered, for something that you want. You make 600 more, you put 300 away to invest, and you have 300 to spend on top. And I didn't spend this extra every month because I was working a lot and I also didn't need to. Instead, after 2 or 3 or 4 months, I bought myself a handbag, my first designer handbag. Did I feel bad or guilty about this? No, because I already invested more than double of the amount I spent. Man, I'm still blown away when I'm telling you this. And another beauty is, you remember when I told you how my net worth curve looked like in the beginning, at least in the short term? But now with this new method, it looked like this. So it's still a linear curve, but it's more steep. And it's more steep without me feeling to sacrifice anything, and I'm convinced that it can do the same for you. One more note to the curve of the net worth. When you invest your money like I do, the curve will not stay linear, because there will be a compounding effect even if you just save the 20%, but it will take more time to show, so it will not change significantly in the first few years. But of course, with a flexible percentage, your net worth will grow bigger because you start increasing the principal very early on. I would love for you to run those same numbers with your income, see the difference it makes, and let me know in the comments. I hope you are as stoked as I was. Thank you for watching this far. I see you in the next video. Bye bye.